All right, and we're ready to roll. So here we go. Pairs of angles. There are the two I'd like to start with are terms that we either talked about a little bit or were mentioned, so you guys have some history with them, are complementary angles and supplementary angles. All right, so complementary. Does anybody know or remember what that is? What the word complementary means? Yes? No, that's congruent. Nice try, though. Yes? We already talked about that one. Adding up to 180 degrees is supplementary, which is the next one we're going to write down. So if supplementary, they add up to 180. What do you suppose complementary might be then? Yeah. Adds up to what? Oh, 360? Nope. Actually, you went the wrong direction with it. It's smaller. Yeah. 90 degrees. Oh, and names. Sorry. Kyle and Andres. Right. Okay. So 90 degrees. So there's just two angles. Well, I guess we should say whose measures add to 90 degrees if we're going to be technical here. Okay, so two angles whose measures add to 90 degrees. So it could be a 45 and a 45, could be a 30 and a 60, could be a 10 and an 80, whatever combination. Yeah, right. So you get the idea. Supplementary. We already mentioned it, so I'm just going to write it down. But supplementary, those are two angles whose measures add to 180 degrees. All right, and to be complementary and to be supplementary, the angles don't have to be adjacent. They don't have to be right next to each other. Okay? So, like if I had, let's say this particular angle, and I measured it, and it was 120 degrees, and I had this other one like this, I measured it, and it was 60 degrees. Okay, these two angles are supplementary because their measurements add up to 180, but they're not adjacent. Okay? So if they happen to be adjacent, which means they have a common ray. So there's the 120, there's the 60. This is called a common ray because they share that ray, right? So it's called a common ray. So these two are also supplementary and adjacent. So if they are both supplementary and adjacent, we have a special name for them. What are they called? We talked about it yesterday. Say that louder. Linear pair. Okay? This is a linear pair if it is both supplementary and adjacent. Okay, so kind of an important distinction there. Supplementary just means they add up to 180. They could be anywhere. But if we happen to take those two supplementary angles and put them right next to each other, then we have a linear pair because they make a line at that point. They don't make a line if they're not adjacent, so we can't call them a linear pair then. Yeah? Yeah. Okay, so there's your supplementary. Now complementary So let's say we've got this angle, and it is 30 degrees. We've got this angle over here. It's 60 degrees. Okay. Those are not adjacent again, right? Their measurements add up to 90 degrees this time. So they are complementary, but not adjacent. So, make them adjacent. Angles that were adjacent, I made a straight line. What am I going to make if I do complementary angles and put each other, make them adjacent? Somebody raised, I think you were first, yeah. Yeah. It's not a linear pair anymore. Because does it make a line if it adds up to 90? No. 180 degrees is a line, right? So 90 degrees makes a what? You were next. A right angle. Mm-hmm. You got it. So like there's our 30, there's our 60. Okay, so that's going to form a right angle. So these are complementary and adjacent. So that makes a right angle. Okay, so that's and supplementary. The other kinds of angles we're going to look at would be ones that form when we have lines that are crossing. And we mentioned this before. Okay, so think back to what we did with our journal a little bit here for this. I'm going to introduce to you guys a new way to name angles here real quick. If you don't see a little degree symbol next to a number that's inside the angle, it's actually the name of the angle, not the measurement of it. So if I just go like 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, I haven't measured those angles. It's not 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degrees, 4 degrees. It's angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, and angle 4. They're their names. Okay, so you can use the points, like the 3 points thing we talked about before, to name an angle, or you can just use a number on there. And as long as it doesn't have that little degree symbol next to it, you know it's a name, not a measurement. Okay, so we've talked so far. How do you classify angle 1 and angle 2? Those two angles taken together are what? Yes. They're a linear pair. Mm-hmm. Okay, and there are 4 linear pairs in that picture, right? I'm not going to write them all down, but can everybody see them? All 4 pairs as you go kind of around? Okay. So, what are called vertical angles in this picture? So does anybody remember from when we did the journal stuff earlier? What would be an example of 2 angles in this picture I could refer to as vertical? Yeah. Angle 3 and angle 2 would work. Yep. And what do we know about vertical angles based on our discussion earlier, too? What did we find out about them or reminded ourselves about them? Yeah. They're congruent. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, knowing these facts about complementary angles, supplementary angles, linear pairs, vertical angles, now we can use those ideas to help us solve some problems kind of similar to what we were doing yesterday, with some involving just numbers, some involving algebra, and kind of set up some equations and that sort of thing. So